You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. 'Cause there's not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the cheese will grow. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
This is the 420 radio show. We are live on lifestyleradio.net. Hi. Yes, I am. I think that Marcel is here.
I think I'm here too.
And I, over the week, since we last spoke, yeah, it's open, but you see, I love Ellen DeGeneres so much that I had to go get me one. So I wanted to introduce our new news gal to the show, Ellen Faux, and that's F-A-U-X if you want to follow her. And hi, Ellen.
Hi.
She's shy.
You got your own Ellen.
I got my own Ellen. We're having problems with her audio, but as time goes on, we'll figure it out. But she is here. She is here, and she's joining us today just to see what's going on and how we do things. We also have Adrian Columb here back with us to talk about ADHD and cannabis, something that both Marcel and I are kind of on top of, as is Adrian. And we're good. Yeah, g'day, eh?
G'day.
Do we need to throw another shrimp on the barbie?
You could if you needed to.
Now, tell me something. Is that actually a real thing?
Only, like, much more recently than that ever became an ad campaign. I think people are much more into seafood now than they were back then. It was more like sausages and stuff. You throw another snag on the barbie, which is sausages. But yeah, now people are grilling seafood a bit more.
But that all really started with that whole Crocodile Dundee thing, right?
Yeah, Paul Hogan. I mean, he put Australia on the map.
So now that I'm on the air, of course, my phone rings. So I'm going to ignore my phone, and we're going to start the show. Michael is here behind me, and I just wanted to also tell our listeners that if you're not doing anything tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we've got a special coverage radio show going on with Burger Radio's, what is it called, Michael? It's Burger Records' third annual revolution, and it's like a whole crap load of radio stations and podcasts and that have all gotten together on a big list, and we're a part of that list, and they're all over the world, and you can check out their website on the Coverage Radio page on Facebook. Yeah, man. If you're not doing nothing, come on and smoke weed with us in the chat room at lifestyleradio.net. And if you don't smoke, don't come in and say, I don't smoke. Do whatever you do.
Come in and ask us questions.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, come in and interact with us. Ow, my back is killing me today. And we are going to talk about the news later today with Ellen. We're getting her kind of situated on taking care of the news for us during the show so that Marcel and I can concentrate on our guests and topics that we want to talk about. Ellen's going to be helping editing our newspaper, the Daily Stoner News as well, and our news segment will be called the Weekly Stoner News. And the clicking you hear is the chat room. There.
Because people are going into the chat room. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm saying hi to them.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
People.
You?
I'm fine. How are you,
Adrian? How are you, Adrian?
I'm really well. Just a little stunned. I'm at the end of a very long week, but I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to a good conversation. How are you guys?
You're in the wrong spot if you want a good conversation.
Well, I like the topic of conversation. Whether it's a good conversation or not doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Just up for a chat.
I've just realized that I had to rave my mic up. It's driving me fucking cuckoo today. My back is killing me. But anyways, Mr. Stinky is behind me. I can smell him lighting up a doobie. Ellen, tell people where you are.
Eastern Canada.
East. So you're out east with Marcel. We can't hear you very well, unfortunately.
Yes.
Is
this better?
You're gonna have to swallow.
Actually, it was much better.
It was better yesterday.
I can hear you just fine. It's not loud, but it's okay.
Here, I'll turn you up. How's that?
Maybe it's just Al.
No, it's not just me. It's oh God, good. Another one that blames me.
No, Al's a lot louder, but I can still hear you.
If you're running the helm, then you get the blame.
Okay.
Yeah, huh? So, Nova Scotia. I'm going to have to move to Nova Scotia now so we can all do the show in this place.
Bring a shovel.
Bring a shovel, eh? Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? It's not much better here.
I took my dog out earlier this evening, and I was standing there and looking down and realized I was standing on top of my lawn tractor.
So, I want to start off the show with Adrian is doing a campaign to try and raise funds for cannabis and ADHD trial. And today is his last day. He's got a 24-hour extension. So while you're listening to the show, if you hear something and go, yeah, we need to do this, please go on to his site and give him a couple of bucks. He's almost there. Even if you have $5, I don't usually beg for cash, but because I've got ADHD, this is a very special one for me, So, and unfortunately, I don't have the funds to help him. So I'll tell you guys to do it. How's that? We are. What was I going to say? I got people texting me now. Please tell everybody what you're trying to do. We'll start off with that. How's that, Adrian?
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, what I'm trying to do is raise some money to eventually legalize cannabis as a medicine for ADHD. I spent quite a lot of time trying to work out how to do that, and I eventually determined that scientific research is the path that we need to follow, because that's what doctors will listen to and that's what governments will listen to. They have these things called blue ribbon studies, which are placebo-controlled, double-blind crossover studies that are extremely technically run, so there's no bias. So they're supposedly unbiased evidence. And these things cost a lot of money to run. It's the main reason why cannabis hasn't been tested, is because it costs so much, and there's no real incentive for pharmaceutical companies to do these trials because they can't patent the medicines. So I took it on myself to raise some money to try and get this study happening. The first step is to run a pilot study, which is basically a miniature version of the eventual clinical trial. And the first step towards that was to fund the writing of that pilot study by an expert researcher. So I had to break it down into pieces. I found some world-class researchers to conduct the study and also to advise on the scientific advisory board. And yeah, I've spent the last couple of months raising money, and it's now 88% funded. The goal is $2,500 US for the writing of the pilot study, and we're now at $2,192. That's accelerated in the last couple of days because we have added some amazing perks, which are vaporizers from Stores and Bickle, including some Volcanoes, Crafties, and Mighty vaporizers. There's currently one Volcano, two Mighties, and one Crafty remaining if anyone wants to get an amazing vaporizer for 25% off the recommended retail, including shipping, for a perk in this campaign. And just one last thing, the page for the campaign, if you want to check it out during the site, is igg.me/campaign. ADHD.org/AT/cannabis for ADHD. And that's a basic rundown.
And I just want to, I'm reading the chat room, and I just wanted to say to Hillary, I just put a nice heaping tablespoon of tincture in my Diet Pepsi, so I'm right there with you.
Adrian, yes. I think you have a great idea, but the biggest concern that I would imagine that's going through most people's minds is ADHD is more of a problem in children than it is in adults. Are you going to be doing this study on children?
The initial study will be in adults because the studies have to go through what's known as a ethical review process. And in that process, studies that are risky will be weeded out. And it would be considered risky to test a psychoactive substance such as THC and possibly other cannabinoids on children initially. If it were possible, I know there's many, many parents who would jump at the opportunity to have their children in that program to test it because they're completely fed up with the stimulants that their children are taking. But the reality is that it probably won't be possible to test in children initially. But I guess the good news is that ADHD isn't just in children. In adults, it does modify somewhat. Adults tend to lose the hyperactivity if they had it originally. So we all end up being more or less ADHD inattentive daydreamers. Some adults do remain hyperactive though.
Can I just jump in for a sec? One of the things that really bothers me is that whole you grow out of it thing, because it doesn't happen. I'm 51 years old. I'm on disability here in Ontario because of my ADHD. I can, I have rage disorders, I got a mood disorder, and a whole host of other things that are going on because of ADHD in my life. And it's more of you learn how to adapt to it, not you adapt it and you overcome it, basically, but you never, it's not something that you grow out of.
So there, you just cleared up that entire myth.
Cool.
Well, that's my opinion. I mean, and I've been living it for 51 years, so.
We're the most adaptive people because we face enormous challenges that are invisible and really don't affect other people. So,
there's been a lot about ADHD in the news lately, specifically ADHD in adults, because if you can figure out what's causing the adults the problem who have ADHD, then you can backstep and go, okay, well, let's try and stop that problem from happening with the children. Right?
Sure.
That would make sense.
So...
sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to kind of outline what we're going to try and do today. Marcel, I'm sure, has a whole bunch of questions to ask me. 2,000. Yeah, and Adrian, because I wanted to play guinea pig. I've been doing this show for 8 years. I have never, ever, and I talk about my disability all the time. Probably too much, but I've never been asked questions directly about it. So I'm going to let the guys do that, and I'm going to give an honest answer, and you may not like the fucking answer. And, so I apologize if I say anything to offend anybody. How's that?
You don't really care if you offend anybody, so it doesn't matter.
The only people that I care if I offend are women, to be honest with you. I don't really...
Who?
Women. I don't like offending women.
Well, I don't really like offending anybody, but I learned a long time ago that the truth hurts, and a lot of people get offended.
Yep.
The truth.
But there's a difference between offending somebody on purpose and offending somebody because of what you're saying that's truth, right? So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't do it to be malicious.
Oh, of course. Well, sometimes people do.
I just do it because I'm blunt, and if you can't handle the truth and bluntness, then don't ask me questions.
I am too honest. I've lost jobs because of my honesty.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
We won't even go there.
No.
Maybe that's an ADHD trait. I'm fairly honest as well. I consider that a prime virtue.
let me ask you guys. Now, I want you to join in on this too, Marcel, because Marcel has MS, and ADHD is a cause from MS. Or I shouldn't say it's a cause. The symptoms are, right?
It's some of the symptoms of ADHD are symptoms of MS, yes.
And so you get the the foggy brain and the
I get brain fog, mood swings,
but you
suicidal depression.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole gamut.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and next week we'll be talking on here about PTSD. A lot of the similar symptoms are also in PTSD.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it comes to is the same medicine is used for all three of us: PTSD, ADHD, and MS. So it still leads me back to a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah. And it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, you'll have to. I've pulled up a clip of a show we did last year with Dr. Behrman with 420 Jess and myself and Lori last season, and I'm going to play a little clip of it. But you'll have to tell me when that fits into the conversation, okay, Andrea?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool. So, since you brought up depression, Marcel, it's a big one for me. Okay, I'm on Wellbutrin, and Wellbutrin also helps with ADHD. Some people might say, well, I thought we were talking about cannabis and ADHD. Well, if I had enough cannabis to feed my world, so to speak, and not have to take any pharmaceuticals, I would do that, but I don't. So I adapt. Depression's a big one, right, guys?
Oh, definitely. My first year, I was on Effexor.
I've heard about it, but I was told to stay away from it.
Well, I'll tell you, once I got licensed and my doctor signed off that I was legal to get cannabis and I had a steady supply coming in all the time, I went to my doctor and we started weaning myself off of these 27 pills that I was taking every day. The hardest one was the antidepressant. And when you're going off with multiple sclerosis, when you're going off of an antidepressant, the side effects of the withdrawal are the same as an MS relapse.
Yeah, pain.
Pain, dizziness, fogginess, can't move, feels like the flu.
Drooling,
but it's
laying on the couch, watching Netflix for a week. The whole thing.
No, it lasts for about 3 months.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
Until it's completely out of your system.
Uh-huh.
Once it's out of your system, you actually have a completely different outlook on life.
Yes.
Because everything is actually not dulled down anymore.
And that's the feeling that I don't like, is the dulled down feeling. I know that I went back on Ritalin in my 20s, and I got home, I looked at the bottle, I wasn't smoking cannabis much at all then. I looked at the bottle, I went, okay, and I took my pill, and 15 minutes later, I'm on the phone with my mom listening to Pink Floyd going, hey, I remember why I like this shit.
Yeah. Well,
but I didn't like the feeling of it.
It's supposed to make you happy.
No, that's right.
It's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you numb and not care.
Yes.
For sure.
And that's all it does, is it just zones you out so that you don't really give a shit anymore.
But cannabis will do the same thing?
No, once you start taking regular doses of cannabis, then and your system's metabolized to it, you don't get high anymore.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately,
it's not noticeable. You're just like living and happy.
That's right. Unfortunately, though, most people in that situation, are like me. My problem is I get a donation, or I have a little extra or whatever. And then I get myself up to that level where I'm feeling good, and I just, want to get chugging down the road and doing my thing, and then I run out. And within a day, I'm on the couch, I'm a grumpy ass like I was, 3 months before that. So I'm going on this fucking roller coaster back and forth. It's not helping.
I'm a grumpy ass the day before I run out from anxiety about running out.
That's right. Yeah, from thinking about it. So it starts 24 hours before you actually run out, when you don't really need to do it.
I go through 30 grams a day. I've made sure I don't run out.
Sure.
You're in a situation where you have,
I try not to either.
You have that, and I won't say luxury. I will say you have that ability to be able to do that.
I have that.
Not a luxury,
I have that.
It's a right.
I'm going to call it
right.
luck.
That's your human rights, mate. You have a human right to access to medicine.
But I'm lucky.
Yeah, sure. You are. In reality, yes.
In
but
this
everyone
case,
should have that
I'm
right.
one of the lucky ones because I'm covered under the injunction. I can still grow.
Yes.
The injunction decisions, that the injunction is going to last for a long time because once this trial is over, it's going to be appealed. And as long as it's being appealed, we're still going to keep growing. So
Yeah.
I'm lucky until that runs out.
I want to say hi to Ellen again just to make sure she's okay. Ellen.
I'm here and I'm fine.
That's
way
great.
far away.
That tiny voice. We're gonna fix that. Don't worry.
It's not
okay.
that tiny, really.
No, we're gonna fix it all up,
Okay.
and we'll make it. Oh, you were good there.
She moves closer to the mic than we can hear her.
Not sure what's different.
I don't know what's different.
The mic is on my head.
I don't know. But whoever's calling me, please stop. So let's talk more about depression since we were on that subject. Can you explain to me, Adrian, why that happens? Specifically with ADHD, why the depression is a part of it, a major part of it?
Well, I mean, it's you got to look at it from different angles, but the first is that everything's very frustrating for someone with ADHD. It's like, I don't know, it's like trying to shoot a basketball hoop while you're, I don't know, on a skateboard. You know, like it's an added level of difficulty. Most people just shoot a basketball hoop from the ground. And for us, we're trying to hit a moving target all the time because we're either hyperactive or we're daydreaming or, anyway, we get frustrated because things don't always go our way. We leave things to the last minute. It's just it's a symptom of the disorder, basically, that we're going to have problems, which obviously lead to depression after a long time, of repeated exposure to negative stimulus, firstly anxiety and then depression. But I think people who have ADHD might be completely okay until they start taking the stimulants, at which point they then develop stimulant anxiety. And for me, I was prescribed antidepressants to take the edge off stimulants, which I'll tell you a bit more about a bit later when I give you a bit of a rundown on my own story. Yeah, I found that I was just swimming in them. I felt unnatural. I felt like I was walking on the moon. They brought additional unwanted side effects in addition to the negative effects of the Ritalin and dexamphetamine. So for me, the antidepressants weren't antidepressants. They just made me feel unnatural and not somewhere I wanted to be, not clear-headed at all. Maybe they have some value for some people, but for me, they really didn't work. I think those are probably the two main angles in that.
I'm here still. My mom called while I was listening to you. Can you explain to me, Marcel, why it is that CBDs help somebody with ADHD? I mean, I know you need a little bit of the THC as well, but why is it that the CBDs are helping? Because I know it helps me. He doesn't know.
It's not a matter I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced.
Okay.
Because I know that the science shows us that CBD tends to work better for neuropathic pain than any of the other cannabinoids.
Okay.
Except the THC seems to work more towards the cerebral side.
But they're saying that the THCV will do the same as a CBD.
That's similar, apparently.
That's the rumor.
That could be. It is possible. But in all honesty, what I think it's a requirement that the body needs the cannabinoids from the whole plant.
Yeah, it's
so
the
it
whole
needs
thing.
THC, CBD, CBN, CBG, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. ABC, 1, 2, 3, thinking about you and me, yada, 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 right.
And as research goes on, we may find out that it's even particular terpenes that could be helping as well.
Look, at 16, my doctor asked me if I was smoking pot. I said no. I was on Ritalin since 5 and Dexedrine, very high doses actually. And when we had this conversation last week, so I don't want to go over it again. But he asked me if I was smoking pot. I said no. He said, okay, well, if you do start smoking pot, stop taking the Ritalin and the Dexedrine because it will do the same thing. That was in the 70s, dude. I'm 51 now. And I believe that because when I don't have any cannabis, like we discussed earlier, I'm a grumpy ass. I'm on the couch, upset, depressed, angry, pissed off, whatever you want to call it. But as soon as I take a couple of hauls, it doesn't matter if it's a sativa or an indica, I'm level. And then if it's an indica, I can gauge it by, having a couple of puffs and putting it out. If it's a sativa, I can smoke the whole thing and just go tripping throughout the day, right? Yeah. Am I talking to
Absolutely.
myself? I'm talking to myself.
No, I'm totally in agreement.
I agree the same way. I find that smoking it, and here's a question that maybe the two of you can both answer. For your ADHD, is it better for smoking relief or ingested relief?
I like the edibles myself because it makes me calm. But remember a while back we were talking about the panicky feeling. If I have too many edibles, I get that panicky feeling, even if it's a high CBD cookie. If I smoke a couple of joints after that happens to me, it brings me down if I smoke some indica, right? Brings me so I can kind of play like a scale. Can you do that, Adrian?
Yeah, no, I use a high THC strain for the accelerator and a high CBD strain for the brakes, and somewhere in between that is perfect focus.
Because if I have too much indica, I literally get couch lock and I can't move, and I'm just kind of vegging out in front of the TV, and I hate that feeling because after a couple of hours of that feeling constantly, I get depressed. It's the same down feeling, that couch lock feeling, right? It's the same down feeling that I feel when I'm really depressed. So I don't like it. Although, if that's all you have, you just cut down on your intake, right?
Absolutely, that sounds like it. Sure. It sounds like you might be taking a little bit too much cookie or something if you're completely smashed on the couch.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I don't like to go that far, right?
So that's the advantage of smoking or vaporizing. You can titrate your dose a lot better. I mean, unless you're making cookies with a certain amount of a certain strain in each cookie and you've measured it and you know what each dose is in each cookie, then really it's going to be hit and miss. I mean, even if you've had 2 or 3 of someone else's cookies, you still might be struggling to work out how much to take under which circumstances for what symptoms and whatnot. So, I mean, I think you can control your intake of cannabinoids a lot better with inhalation. But just like you were saying last week, it's good to have an underlying level of edible cannabinoids in your system so that you're not smoking or vaporizing constantly to keep that level up. You're just using smoking and vaporizing for symptomatic relief in stressful moments.
The edibles help cut back. Right. How do you find out what your doses are with your treats that you make, Marcel?
Everything is pre-measured. So my normal dosages are capsules that are made up with a combination of hemp seed oil because of attaching the cannabinoids to an omega-3 lipid before it's even ingested, as well as liquid vitamin D because I'm deficient in vitamin D with MS. So I take those straight capsules. Anything that I make, because I make everything with a concentrate, then it's easier for me to adjust the doses. So I try and make it so that each, say, dose of, for example, 1 chocolate would have the equivalent of half a gram of bud. Now, for some, that's too much. For others, it's not enough.
Is it single strain or mixed strain? You make blends or?
we can call it blends because it's basically whatever concentrate's being run at that time.
Okay.
But for the most part, I would say they're all hybrid strains with a mixture of sativa and indica. So there's a good selection of CBD, THC, and all of the other cannabinoids.
Okay.
I'd like to go into business and open up a confectionery.
Great. The only problem is, sorry.
I have an email question from Lisa, and she's asking about suppositories. Do they still make you feel high?
We had Jack Hungle on the other night saying that that's the reason that people are using suppositories is not to get high.
Okay.
I've never used the suppository, so I can't answer it.
Have you tried what's the word again? Suppositories there before? Either of you, Ellen or Adrian?
No, in fact, this is probably the first time I've ever heard of a suppository, mate. Yeah.
I've seen it. I know some people who have had to use it before.
For what?
Most of the ones that are using suppositories are treating cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
Or they're trying to get their levels up to where they can fight off whatever they've got.
Exactly, and
without getting intoxicated.
That's right. Yes.
Right. It's supposedly you don't get any intoxication from it, and because of the very fine membrane of the rectum, I guess, and it being applied there, it is more easily absorbed into your system.
Sure.
But I haven't made the suppositories, and I haven't tried the suppositories because
there's the two best ways to get cannabis or cannabinoids into your body is through your butt or under your tongue, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are for a good, long-lasting ingested dose. Those are your fastest routes of entry.
Okay.
Under your tongue. Through the buccal membrane is a very quick carrier.
That's because it's so thin and it absorbs real quick, right? Right into the bloodstream?
Exactly. So a lot of tinctures and everything you can just put under the tongue, the inside of the cheek. The only problem is a lot of tinctures are alcohol-based.
I have gotten burns in my mouth from doing that, under my tongue. Cankers and stuff like that.
Now, you can also make a tincture with a glycerin, and you make a hemp seed oil emulsion and put that directly into the same area.
So I have a question about that. Actually, the glycerin one, is it actual sublingual? What do you call it? Transmucosal absorption? Because I thought the reason why it could be absorbed there was because it was in alcohol. Yeah. I don't know if glycerin is able to be absorbed there. So
I don't know because I don't bother with tincture either.
I am actually on,
but I do know with the hemp seed oil and cannabis oil in a spray in the mouth has a pretty good effect within about 15 minutes versus 35-40 minutes ingested dose.
I've got a recipe, if anybody wants it, for tincture that is glycerin based, and I'm on it right now, as is Buster, my pal, and I feel great. You know, I'm taking a teaspoon in the morning and a teaspoon in the evening, sometimes a little bit more, in my pop or something. And Buster's getting a half. And Buster's 13 years old. He's got cancer. He's got lumps. He's got bad hips. So I mean, he's out in the snow, trashing around like a puppy because of cannabis. I mean, there's no other explanation because he's not on anything else, right? But we've gone off topic. We're going to talk some more about ADHD. How about we listen to a song and then we come back and we.
I just want to read one comment though from
please,
one of the ones in the chat room from who's actually from Australia, so she can understand Adrian pretty good. At the Australian symposium, we were told that the suppository method bypassed the liver and therefore was used in cases where really high dosage is needed.
Yes.
That's actually really makes sense and a really good idea.
I've actually heard that. Yeah, it's because the lining in your butt is so thin, and it's directly into, when it absorbs, it goes directly into the blood system,
and it bypasses the
whatever the happy muscle, or
no, it bypasses the liver.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll have to make some, and we'll test both on the wife.
And on that note, we're going to listen to a new song that I found this week by Kabaka Pyramid. It's called Worldwide Love, and you'll understand when you hear it why I'm playing it. It's the 420 Radio Show. Come on into the Lifestyle Radio chat room. Just click on the button, come on in, choose a nickname, and call yourself Bob if you don't want to call yourself anything. We'll be back, and we're going to talk to Ellen a little bit and find out where she wants to go with the news later on, and all kinds of other stuff, and more ADHD stuff. We'll be back. It's the 420 Radio Show, live Lifestyle Radio. And more ADHD.
When we speak of love, it's not just something you have for one person. Love is impartial. It's immaterial and it can't be divided, you know?
About a pyramid again. Listen, no, yeah. Telling them again, no. Ooh, yeah. So when we're talking worldwide love, take note. I'm singing of a worldwide love. From the seas in the ground to the skies up above, this is a worldwide love. Not just my family and friends, all my enemies, my send it's a worldwide love. You could have rich, you could have poor, still me give you more of this worldwide love. Do away with the hate and rush. We are a human race. Many different colors, many hues and shades. Some ear picky, some smooth and straight. But the same blood that flowing out with tubes and veins. Tell me if you ever side love or separate. Living as one, that's our ultimate fate. I know see why them a try dominate. Love it at the source where the isle create. No matter what's the time or place in this worldwide love. From the seas in the ground to the skies up above, this is a worldwide love. Not just my family and friends, all my enemies, me send this your worldwide love. You could have rich, you could have poor, still me give you more of this worldwide love. Let's do away with the hate and grudge. The love you're not partial. Love with the soldier, the police and the corporal. This next generation, the youth and the normal. Love and anything, what how you live it royal. Love in your soul and your soul is immortal. Now get me wrong, my love, my blackness. But spiritually there is only one exactness. What is immaterial can never be separated, and that's a fact. Me say we need worldwide love. From the seas in the ground to the skies up above, this is a worldwide love. Not just my family and friends, all my enemies, me send this a worldwide love. You could have rich, you could have poor, still me give you more of this worldwide love. Let's do away with the hate and love. Love are the power of attraction. Bind us together like the web, the spider start fun. It's different from affection, it's different from infatuation. Any verb or any action. Many lurking, many factions. Many religions try to tell you what is love and then I got none. I beg you look in your heart. Be careful what you put in your thoughts. Be smart and seek for the worldwide love. From the seas in the ground to the skies up above, this is a worldwide love. For all my family and friends, all my enemies, me send this your worldwide love. You could have rich, you could have poor, still me give you more of this worldwide love. No, hey, worldwide love, that is what I'm giving. Worldwide love, nah, do no killing. Worldwide love, never kill no shilling. No, hey, worldwide love, take it to China. Down Australia, North and South America, then Europe, straight go to Africa. We spreading this a worldwide love. From the seas in the ground to the skies up above, this is a worldwide love. You could have rich, you could have poor, still me give you more of this worldwide love. Not just my family and friends, my enemies, me send this a worldwide love. No, hey. Worldwide love, it's all we need. It's a fall on me. Oh gosh, Kabaka Pyramid, I will be telling them.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Work and hard are four-letter words. Rising early is for the birds. Got a good job that keeps my vision blurred. I'm really good at selling weed. I won't flip burgers, I won't park cars. Hell, walking to the corner is walking too far. I'm sitting right here smoking a big cigar. Really good at selling weed. Never leave the house, never leave my couch. People come and see me. Knock on the back door, got what you're looking for. It's the chronic you need. You always call me when you're looking for smoke. I'm not fronting you 'cause your ass is broke. When you give me money, then you'll get to toke. I'm really good at selling weed. I never leave the house, never leave my couch. People come and see me. Knock on the back door, got what you're looking for. It's the chronic you need. I know the DEA is tapping my phone. I'm always paranoid, my cover is blown. I even check my mom for hidden microphones. Yeah, really good selling weed. Man, I hope the cops don't hear this song. You know, but if they do, I was just kidding. I don't know nothing about selling any weed. I mean, I saw a sign. It said work from home. It said I didn't even need an internet connection. I mean, I have one, but I don't need one. I use it for, online Bible study. The occasional bestiality video. I don't know. You do need a phone, though. That's very important in this line of work. Preferably one of the disposable ones where you can buy the minutes. Am I giving out too much information? Is that what's happening here? Maybe I should just shut up now. Okay. If you need some weed.
We are back.
Well, I don't know. It just...
we are live, guys.
I haven't explained.
We are live. Hello. We are doing.
Isn't it great when you come back to the kitchen and people are talking and then they all stop?
Yeah. Oh God, I love that.
You know that they were talking about you, right? So that's what now happened to all of our listeners. We were talking
about
when
you.
we came back. We stopped.
Yes, we don't talk anymore
because obviously they think they were talking about them, and we weren't. We were talking about Adrian.
All right. And on that note, where was we? We were talking about ADHD. And
the wonderful world that it is. And the depression of it. Now,
and depression, yeah.
With MS, and a lot of people with MS will admit it, a lot of people won't. There's usually a constant thought that goes through most people with MS and especially as if they've got a progressive form, and that's suicidal thoughts. What are suicidal thoughts like for ADHD? Or is it more of a result of the medications?
I'll let you speak as well, Adrian, but when I wake up, my engine starts, my head starts spinning. maybe 20 minutes a piece, you get that thought, that suicidal thought. Now, that doesn't mean I'm suicidal, but the thoughts are there.
Right.
Constantly, unfortunately, because for me, ADHD plays with my sense of self-worth and esteem a lot. It's one of the reasons why I suffer from agoraphobia. Because I'm a large man, I got people watching me, at least I think they are. Lots of paranoia involved. Am I on the right button there for you as well, Adrian?
Look, I've never had suicidal thoughts. I guess I'm blessed in that sense. Sometimes it seems like it's all too much, and you just throw your hands in the air. But that's just something that you have to learn to deal with ADHD, as you've just described. We have frustrations, and if you have too much frustration, it turns into other things. Once your brain starts spinning, unfortunately, because you've got that, there's a short circuit for whatever reason there's a short circuit that says, hey, that doesn't say, hey, now, chill out, let's think about this. And unfortunately, there's lots of different other mental illnesses in the world, or mental health issues in the world, where
but now a suicidal thought isn't necessarily you thinking about how to kill yourself.
That's right. No, it's just the thought. I wish I wasn't alive today.
Yeah, it's basically the thought of would it be better if I was dead?
Yes, that's what. Yes, I don't think about killing myself every day, but I do think, well, maybe if I wasn't here, things would be a little easier.
Well, I mean, for people with MS, it would definitely be. It's really the only way to end your suffering.
Yes, and thank God in Canada you're allowed to do that now.
Now, yes.
Are you?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. That's an amazing human righs victory.
Very recently, yeah. It was like middle of last month, wasn't it, Marcel?
Yeah, it was just last month.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'll probably be appealed and yada, but
of course.
They'll argue it out for a while, but eventually it's still the right thing, because the other option is for people to fly to Switzerland.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like $25,000.
Where do things stand with Kevorkian now? Is he still alive? Is he still practicing? Is he what? Do you know?
Our news lead would have to answer that one.
I was just curious. I'm not putting that on you.
I believe that Mr. Kevorkian has passed away.
I'm assuming he has, because I seem to remember that. But
it's pretty easy to make your own cocktail if you need to. So
no, but what I was getting at is I'm wondering how he would feel about it, because I wonder how many countries assisted suicide is legal in. But that's a whole other conversation. So
yeah,
What are the states it's legal in? I'm not sure.
I don't know. We'll have to find out that information, and we'll have a conversation with it.
We'll do that as a different show. But this is a good example of ADHD, isn't it?
Yes. That's what I was going to say too. The going from one subject to the other is where you were getting at, right?
Oh, look, a puppy.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's that book, Understanding Attention Deficit. Oh, look, butterflies.
Yes. Can you explain to me, please, Adrian, because Adrian has done a lot of research already, and I believe you have a support site as well?
Yeah, I have a website, cannabisforadhd.org, which is full of information about cannabis and ADHD, and also my plan for the clinical trial, and also in the section, is it safe? I've addressed a lot of the main arguments that the haters and naysayers and government people and the like put up against legalizing cannabis for medical use.
Now, what are your thoughts and feelings about the doctor who invented Ritalin saying what he said on his deathbed?
I think he's set patients back quite a long way by saying that. I don't know what the basis is for it. I did have a look at it, but I didn't give it too much mind because it's a bit nonsensical. The way that medication for ADHD was developed was they were testing morphine and downers to see if they could reduce the hyperactivity. And instead of reducing the hyperactivity, it increased it. So intuitively, they tried stimulants, which is how they reached at amphetamine, which is Adderall, Dexedrine, that sort of thing. Yep. They then tweaked the amphetamine molecule to get methylphenidate, which is Ritalin. So the science that actually discovered the medicine for ADHD, which was then known as hyperkinesis, was based on intuitive, good clinical research. And I think the fact that he said it was a made-up disorder is a whole lot of nonsense. It doesn't help anyone.
I think it was pretty sad when I was just like, what? Are you fucking with my noodle?
So here's a question from the chat room.
Okay.
And Lisa wants to know how cannabis affects anger, rage, and frustration.
I can give you a little example on that. G13. Was it G13? D13, something like that. 3 of us were in a house for several days. We had a strain. We were at each other all the whole time, just punching with words and yelling and screaming and all that crap. And then we ran out and we got a kush and everything went back to normal. We were laughing and giggling and stuff like that. That was White Widow, and we call it angry weed now. Right? And because the people that that happened with me have ADHD-esque kind of problems. So we were all in a little house together and smoking White Widow for several days, and it got nasty. It really did. And then we got some kush, and everything was back to normal and happy-dappy. Is that?
Yeah, I've been using White Widow all week, and I've been completely un-aggro. So I guess there's different strokes for different folks, but I know that the high THC sativas like the White Widow can be really aggravating for some people. For inattentive ADHD, for me, it's perfect medicine, as long as I've got a CBD to use as the brakes. But everyone's different.
Yeah, and I think what we need to stress, and Marcel will probably jump in here, is cannabis, just like any other pill that your doctor would give you, is patient-specific. You can hear all these reviews on different strains and different methods of taking cannabis, but you have to find the method that helps you the best, because this is all about you. It's not all about the guy down the road, right?
And you're right, I'm going to jump in, because it's not just limited to pills and cannabis. Anything that you put in your system is going to react differently in you than it does in anybody else. Well, chocolate affects some people where it doesn't affect other people.
I can have a cup of tea with sugar or sweetener, and after I'm like a Timmy's, right? And after I've had that, I'm higher than a kite because of the caffeine. Okay.
Yeah. And caffeine doesn't affect me.
That's right. I can have chocolate, and I'm like, woo! But then, because I'm diabetic, I get the double wham, so I get the high, and then I get the down.
Right. So everything affects everybody differently, and that's why people say, what strain is best for such and such? There's no one that can answer that question, because every person is basically strain specific.
That's right.
Your body needs a particular strain. Find it.
Well, you know what I do is every time I get a new strain, I go to Leafly. I like Leafly. And yes, I'm plugging Leafly. Because they have so many different reviews, and they're from smokers that put them there. So it's not it's not one person like Matt Murnaugh is a great strain reviewer in his format, but it's written by him. It's his opinion. So you go to a place and there's lots of other places. There's the Dank Gardener as well, a few other apps that you can get. You go in and you put the name of the strain that you're smoking in, and it will pop up. You'll see all kinds of reviews from people who have been smoking it, using it, eating it, whatever. And you'll see a lot of thumbs up, thumbs down. It's like looking for a car, really.
Those of us that grow, that's what we use.
Yeah.
To decide which strains we're going to grow is the strain reviews from other people.
That's right. So I go to places
it's the same
like
thing. We may grow it, and
yes,
we may find that it's completely different for us than what it was for them.
It's like finding a beer you like. It's like finding a beer that you like.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to, Ellen, do you have problems finding the strain that works for you? That kind of thing.
I haven't so far. No, I mostly just use indicas, and I'm not really very experienced, I don't think, yet in the different strains and in the different types.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, the indicas that I'm using a different push and some seed that has been around for 30 years that nobody knows what it's called.
Yeah.
And the combination of those three work great.
Yeah. I mean, I even go as far as if I've got 3 or 4 different strains and I like these 2 and I'm okay with that one, I'll batch it and I'll come up with my own little mixture. You know, do you do that, Marcel, with the different strains that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I'll grow strains that I know work well, and then I'll grow a few of other strains to test. And then if I find something that works, or 2 that work really well, I may actually combine them into one.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
That's how other strains are come up with. I mean, that's how
right.
somebody.
I do my own crossbreeding and then germinate from there.
Are there?
I like Colombian Gold because I like the sativa.
I remember that from when I was a kid.
And I like Purple Kush because of how well it helps with my neurological pain.
Yes, I like that. I like the Kush too. Yeah, for that.
So I crossed Colombian Gold with Purple Kush.
And what did you call it?
I haven't really decided on a name, but I have decided that it's going to be regrown again this year.
Cool.
Because it turned out to be a phenomenal strain last year.
See if someone's already got a Colombian Kush. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure other people have cross Colombian Kushes and like a Colombian with a Kush. I don't know, so it's not that I'm going to be using these seeds for sale.
Kush?
It's got its own unique smell to it. It doesn't smell like Colombian. It doesn't smell like Purple Kush. It's got a nice fruity scent to it.
Okay.
So, but what's happened is we've got some mothers growing, and now we'll get the clones off them this year. Use a little bit of magic with a little glycerolic acid and cross one of them into a male and pollinate a half a dozen or so.
How many different strains do you grow? You know what? Don't answer that, Marcel. Don't answer that because you don't.
I would like
people don't.
Because I grow so many different strains, but every year could be different.
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 strains at a time.
Yeah.
Different strains, just because I'm still testing. I want to find something that cures me.
It's a never-ending test, though. I mean, I found strains that I love, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm going along, and a week later, I'm like, I need a change. You know, and
but that happens with almost all strains. After a little while, you get accustomed to it.
But if I was growing my own, I wouldn't have that luxury to do. You know,
you'd have to grow 4 or 5 strains and just alternate.
Yeah, see, that's the worst thing is if you grow something that's no good for you, you're still stuck with it.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, what do you do then? I mean, I guess you can turn it into edibles or oil or,
Yeah, just extract it.
Yeah.
Once it's extracted, it doesn't really matter.
I was just going to ask you that. I mean, if you extract a heavy indica and that, like,
you get a heavy indica oil.
No, I'll take that a different way. Okay. If you were to extract some oil out of a white widow that sets me off into a rage. Okay.
Yes.
It's going to set you up even more. Super concentrated.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is that going to if now I understand with the oils it would be concentrated, but what about edibles? Is it going to affect?
It's still going to be concentrated.
But is it going to affect me differently?
And it should still be basically the same effect. But because it's an ingested dose, it's not going to be as severe of a cerebral effect, but it's going to be one of the ones that make your heart race and then put you in a panic attack because you think you're having a heart attack or something. But your heart only increases like 10 to 15 beats per minute.
Been there, done that. They gave me an Adderall as soon as I walked, Ativan as soon as I walked in the fucking door.
All they needed to do is give you a fucking cookie and some cartoons and you would have been fine.
Yeah, but
because really that's all it is you set off your own panic attack. And people will call that the overdose of cannabis.
Yes.
When you can feel your heart rate increase.
Or mania. Mania
sets off a panic attack.
Yeah.
All right. So if you suffer from anxiety or you're concerned about something like that and you eat too much and your heart starts to race, calm the hell down. You're fine. Eat a bag of chips.
You know what?
Eat some sugar or orange juice.
I went as far as calling an ambulance.
Mangoes.
No, I went as far as calling an ambulance because I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart was going biddity bump, biddity bump. I was crying, blah, 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 blah. It turned out exactly what it was,
Yeah.
It wasn't a heart attack. It was just a little stress. So, but now I know that's most likely what it's going to be. But, hey, I'm not going to take chances with my heart that way, right?
What happens is when you ingest a dose, one of the great things about cannabis is it's a muscle relaxer.
Yes.
And it relaxes all the muscles around all of the veins. So the veins open up and they get more blood. And it flushes out a lot more crap because it now can get more blood into it. To compensate for it, it increases your heart rate about 10 to 15 beats per minute. So your blood pressure goes down, but your heart rate increases to keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
You get red eyes. That 10 to 15 beats per minute is enough, and you're the perfect example of how it can set somebody off into a panic attack.
So you really just got to stop it.
And, well, basically, that's what people look at as being the overdose of cannabis.
Yes. The panic attack, the whole, oh man, what's going on?
Now you see that more in the sativa strains, the high THC strains.
Hold on a second. Well, there goes that bird again.
It's a bird?
ADHD. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You were saying,
we all suffer from it.
You were saying. Well, music soothes my savage beast. Is there a reason for that? I've read things that it actually can manipulate your levels of serotonin and other things. Music,
and dopamine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
That's part of the ADHD situation also, where a normal person's brain would be peaking and having anxiety from a high THC dose. We're actually much less likely to have that situation because we're deficient in dopamine already, and what THC does is spikes your available dopamine. So for a normal person, Ritalin will send them off racing, whereas for us it'll calm us down. The retrograde inhibition function that Dr. David Beman will talk about in a little bit is very key to understanding cannabis.
Is that the key to play that clip?
That's the key.
You could do, unless you're going to go to some music. But yeah, maybe play the clip.
No, that's where I was trying to head the conversation. So I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to go like this. This is, if you want to hear the whole show, it's March 12th, and it was me, 420 Jess, and Lori, I believe, along with Dr. Behrman. Dr. David Behrman, who is, can you explain who he is, please, Chris? Because I know that you know who he is.
Adrian.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Dr. David Behrman is a doctor in California who spent many years in public health and drug addiction control, and through his private practice came across patients who kept reporting to him that cannabis helped their ADHD. He initially prescribed it for something else. I think it was migraines, and his first brush with it was this patient coming back saying, yeah, the migraines are gone, but so's the ADHD. And then his patients kept telling him, and eventually he looked into it and he contacted researchers, and he put to them this concept of retrograde inhibition, which is exactly how Ritalin and dexamphetamine work. And he's probably the most knowledgeable expert on ADHD and treating it with cannabis, and is probably the most active prescriber of it in his area, which is somewhere just north of San Francisco, I think.
And I watched a video of him doing a speech, and it grabbed my attention to the point where I wrote a very touching letter to him explaining my whole life story, and then I invited him to come on the show, and he graciously accepted, and I will have him back, hopefully with you as well, Adrian. And I want to play, why I said Chris is because Chris Enns was on the show as well. That day. So it's March 12th. If you want to go to our Mixcloud, just look up mixcloud.com/lifestyle radio. You can find it on our website at lifestyleradio.net as well. Look for the 420 radio show with guest David Behrman and Chris Enns. It's March 12th, 2014. And here's a little clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but I'm going to play some of it because it's pertinent to what we're talking about.
Yes, please.
That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, I remember there's a fellow that's been doing this for a long time, a surgeon up in Marin named Tom O'Connell, and Dr. O'Connell feels that most of the people who use marijuana successfully actually have ADD. Now, I thought then, and I think now that he went too far, but there's no question that cannabis is useful in treating ADD, and I think that there's a relationship, not a one-to-one relationship, but a relationship between post-traumatic stress disorder and ADD. And I think what happens in post-traumatic stress disorder is that you increase the amount of one neurotransmitter called dopamine transporter, and it ties up some of the dopamine, so you have less free dopamine.
Yes.
Well, why is that important? That's important because the more dopamine you've got available, the more it will slow down the depolarization and repolarization of neural cells and make it more difficult for them to be stimulated. Now, where cannabis comes into this is that it competes with the dopamine for the dopamine binding sites on the dopamine transporter, and the cannabinoids fill them up. And this releases the dopamine from being bound to the dopamine transporter. You now have more depolarization, you have more retrograde inhibition, and you have added to slowing down the speed of neurotransmission. So if we're talking about attention deficit disorder, that means you have fewer slower-moving neural impulses, making it easier for the cerebral cortex to grab onto them. If we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder and anger, if you don't have enough dopamine, you've got all of these anger impulses that are moving at warp speed, and the midbrain, which is the most primitive part of the brain and sees life in terms of black and white, life and death, gets the upper hand in terms of directing our thinking, and the cerebral cortex takes a back seat. And so everything becomes a matter of life and death, and it's no wonder that you get angry easily. It's no wonder that you get upset. And
that was kind of cool to hear that.
Yeah, no, he was spot on, really. I think that there's the keys to this argument for cannabis for ADHD and PTSD in what he's talked about. Yeah, very much.
How long have you been using cannabis to treat your ADHD, Adrian?
Well, I discovered in university that cannabis helped me to concentrate, which I guess that was probably, I don't want to say, I don't know, about 15, maybe 16 years now. Basically, while my friends were on the floor stoned, I was more functional than ever. And I could suddenly write essays, concentrate in class, express myself, feel motivated, and generally get the job done. So I haven't looked back. It's been pretty much daily since then.
That's how I survived high school.
Yeah, I wish I'd found it in high school. I think many people who have found it later in life wish that they were able to take some form of medicinal cannabis in high school. I know Matt Riddle, the mixed martial artist who was disqualified for having cannabis in his system and ended his mixed martial arts career with a cannabis ban. He's prescribed it for ADHD, and he's a state licensed medical marijuana patient. So he's actually said to me, look, I wish I had it when I was in second grade, I think was the quote. So I think many people would like it to be a medicine that's actually available for children. And just on that note, there's a Canadian child who goes to the principal's office during recess and lunchtime and uses his vaporizer for ADHD. Which I think is amazing.
I think that's amazing as well.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I used to have to go to the office to get my Ritalin, and so it's nice to know that now they can go to the office and grab their little vaporizer and do what they got to do. Right?
I wish more schools would do that.
Do you know?
Definitely. It's coming.
Do you know what province that's in, Adrian?
Look, I can look it up for you while we're talking. I have to go through the group to find it, but I'll find it for you in a sec.
That's awesome. Maybe you can explain to me while you're doing that. Can you tell me the difference between ADHD and ADD?
Look, they were known as separate disorders. They're now in the DSM, which is the list of, or the book of psychiatry disorders. Now they're known as ADHD, predominantly inattentive, ADHD, predominantly hyperactive, and then ADHD combined, which is, you've got symptoms of both. You're a daydreamer and, bee in a bottle.
That would be me. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, so ADD is now ADHD predominantly inattentive, and ADHD, what was known as ADHD, is ADHD predominantly hyperactive.
And when I was a kid, I was a test study at the Hinks Clinic. We've talked about that before. When I was a kid, starting at about 5 or 6 years old, they just called it hyperactivity disorder. That's what they called it back then. There was no ADHD or ADD or XYZ. It was just hyper. You're a hyper kid. Yeah, no, we don't want you around. You go in a special class.
Sure. So the daydreamers probably didn't get picked up as having ADD. I certainly didn't. I was never diagnosed until I was well past school age. In fact, past my undergraduate degree. Kids, they often just have hyperactivity.
I find that interesting. That you were able to get through. I quit school the day I turned 18 years old. I went back and got my grade 12 and 27 years old. I went and enrolled myself at Humber College in photography, and I did great in the I did great in all of the practical stuff, the hands-on stuff. I failed miserably, as I did in high school, all the academic stuff. They wouldn't let me return because of it. But yet I got an 80-something, or sorry, a 90-something on my final actual photo exam, right? It's been very destructive at work too. You know, you get that blue feeling. You don't feel like going in. With ADHD, it's very, very easy just not to. You know.
Definitely. I think we all have that discrepancy with ADHD where we have amazing skills but also amazing difficulties in other areas. For me, it's mathematics. I've got reasonably good English skills, but my ability to do maths is not so great. So I think, yeah, we're out of balance in that way.
But
I don't think I had ADD or ADHD when I was a kid. My issue was I learned faster than they would teach me.
But you when did have you been formally diagnosed with ADHD, Marcel?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so but your doctors have said those are symptoms of ADHD, obviously.
Yes.
Yes.
Go
ahead, Adrian. What one of you go?
Do you have school reports from between age 4 and age 7 that say Marcel would be great if only he would apply himself? Marcel doesn't concentrate in class, that sort of thing. Or would your parents know if there was or brothers or sisters know if you had those sort of issues? Because that's what your doctor will ask you if you were to go for the diagnosis. Is did you have the symptoms?
My answer would have been the reports would have showed all hide marks in everything, but the comment section would show boredom.
Menial tasks. That's that whole menial task thing that is very, very prominent in somebody with ADHD.
I was extremely bored. So by the time I got to high school, well, I started using cannabis when I was 12. And that got me through junior high school and high school, which were some rough years. When I went into the military and did the aptitude tests, they come back and they told me that I had a learning disorder, and the problem was that I learned faster than anybody could ever teach me.
But that could also be ADHD because...
very likely.
Yeah.
One of the symptoms of ADHD is actually something called racing brain syndrome, which is your thoughts are going too fast for you to actually hear them.
That's what I have.
It sounds like what you're experiencing was you could actually hear the thoughts going that quickly, but there wasn't enough stimulus.
Well, the cannabis was actually allowing me to hear the thoughts.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's what it does.
It slows it down for me. Yeah, it slows everything down to the point where I can decipher the thoughts. Otherwise,
I can still do the thoughts. I can just decipher them just faster now.
Well, that doesn't work. Like, I mean, literally, the minute I wake up in the morning, my head starts spinning. What do I gotta do? What's coming up? What's happening next week? What's happening next year? Oh shit! Last year I did that, and I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't. I feel bad about it, but you know what? It was last year, and it's just constant, over and over and over and you can't stop it until I come out here. I come out here about between 5 and 7. I take my Wellbutrin, my metformin, and a Sesame just to get me going. I have a tea. I have some tincture. I smoke a couple of doobies. By 11, 12 o'clock, I'm able to get up and take the dog out and continue on my day. Where if I don't have cannabis, it's 2 or 3 o'clock.
See, that's why
nothing happens.
That's why I got a dog.
I don't have it.
Well, you see, I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to take Buster out. He's an old guy. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take Buster out. He's an old guy again. You know, so I mean, he goes out every couple hours, so I have to do that. But yet I can hardly bring myself to do my dishes because it's that whole menial task thing. I recently went to a clinic in Barrie, Ontario called the Bilkey Clinic, and I actually asked Dr. Bilkey if he would come on the show, but he specializes in adult ADHD diagnosis. And even though I was diagnosed as a child and a test study and all blah, 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 that was a long, long time ago. There's no records. Okay. So I had, in order to get on ODSP, I had to go and get a psych evaluation. And what they did when I walked in the door was they handed me a 6-inch thick pile of paper and asked me to start filling it out. I got ADHD, is really all I gotta say, is what I said to them. How the fuck am I supposed to do that? And they said, just try your best. I think I got through maybe a quarter of it when I actually turned it in 3 weeks later. And they said, you can't do that. I said, I got no choice. I just can't do it. It's like a test. It makes me panicky. You know? So, I
had that same problem today. I was trying to film a video and I couldn't get the script right and I was just peaking. But as Dr. Bierman said in that little clip there, everything seems like life or death for us. Well, he was talking about PTSD, but I think it's the same for ADHD. Everything takes on such significance and importance that it's too hard to grasp easily and too hard to deal with easily.
I don't have that issue. My issue is I really don't give a fuck.
I go through that, Marcel, whether it's a good thing coming up or a bad thing coming up. Even if my mom is coming up for the day, my mom and my sister came up a few weeks ago. They brought me a car, and it was Valentine's Day, and I was excited, and I was, missing my family, and they came up, but yet a week worth of fucking panic attacks because they were coming up. Yeah. And they were introducing a vehicle into my life. And they were, helping me take that baby step to get out into the world. Right?
People don't come visit me, so I don't have that problem.
No, but you see, I struggle with that every day. I want to go out. I want to do stuff. But then when I'm out, I think people are staring at me, or I did something wrong, or I said something to offend somebody, or I knocked something over that such small little things. And then I run back home. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why I moved out of the city, because I would go to the store, there'd be so much going on around me, I'd just run back home to my little nest, See, my biggest problem going out is information overload. That's what I'm getting at. That's what it is for me. So I choose to stay home.
It's not a matter, I don't care if people are staring at me or anything like that. I walk with a cane because I need to.
Yes.
And nobody stares at me. It's not a matter of that. It's just that I hear every conversation that's going on.
Yes. The dripping tap, the creaking door, the horn from the car driving by. I hear it all. But you want to know something? In my setting, in my own space, that's okay because I have control of what's going on in that area. Adrian and I were talking about music. When we first had our first conversation, I read an article not too long ago about the EMD music, that constant wah, 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 in your head. It actually calms me down. Right?
Oh,
do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
Can you explain what Can you explain what I mean, though? Can you explain to people why that is and why that happens?
Look, I think it's something to do with our tribal roots. I'm not exactly sure. I think that the sound of a beating drum has always meant something to human beings. It's a bit hypnotic and it distracts us from the other noises. The rhythm is something that we can filter out. So in a way, it becomes a background noise or a trance. So that we're just able to focus on what we're looking at or trying to deal with rather than all the distractions around us.
But yet somebody like Marcel goes out and he gets overloaded, right? Like, it's the same kind of music as Pink Floyd. I know that Marcel likes to listen to Pink Floyd, and there's a lot of that wah, 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 that twangy stuff. And
but there's still a beat.
Yeah, but it's very, there's a beat, but it's a very calming effect, right, Marcel?
For me, it is.
Yeah, me as well. Pink Floyd is one thing. Like, one of the things I love about music is it can dictate how your moods are.
If I'm crappy mood, then my go-to music is Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
if I'm in a good mood, then I'll listen to anything. Whatever comes to my mind, I'll listen to.
Yeah, one of the things you'll notice if you listen if you listen to the station during the day, I'm just sitting there listening to music that I want to listen to, or it's on auto and it's playing what it wants. But my point is, if I'm sitting here in front of the station and I'm playing the music or putting the playlist together, I'm actually taking myself on a trip. You know, and Smokes a Lot, Brian and I used to sit for hours and hours, and Dave, way back when we first started doing the show, and we would actually put ourselves on a trip during the show because of the different types of music that we were listening to, right? And like if you play a really, really aggressive game and it's got loud beating, metal in it, you're going to get angry. You're going to get, Rah! You know what I mean? But if you're
your brain tunes to the beat and tunes to the tempo of the music. Your body and your brain are basically just a musical instrument. So whatever music you're listening to, your heart rate will tune to that, and your brainwave frequency will tune to that. And I guess for ADHD, brainwave frequency is quite important. If we're in, I'm not sure which is the right one. I think it's beta waves. If we're in a particular frequency, then we're able to concentrate, and if we're not, then we can't concentrate. So in that sense, choosing the right music to get your brain vibrating at the right frequency to concentrate makes total sense.
Makes sense to me. What do you think about it, Ellen?
I don't know. I'm just listening and learning. It's wonderful. It's information this evening.
It's information overload, actually, for me. I mean, I have these conversations.
Are you thinking, do I have ADHD? I've done that.
I have these conversations with a lot of different people. I mean, and sometimes it's the same conversation over and over again with different people. And it's interesting to me to see the similarities in attitudes, the way people do things, because people who have specifically a mental health issue, they compensate like somebody who's deaf compensates with their vision, or touch or feel, or when a dog doesn't have a left back leg, it figures out how to walk with three, A
lot of the stuff you were saying, part of my reason for being a medical cannabis patient is I had a traumatic brain injury, I guess you would call it. This would have been 11 years ago. And Marcel talking about overload and things like that for months, maybe even years after I got out of the hospital and rehab and all of that stuff and learned everything all over again. Just going to the mall, especially at Christmas time or Valentine's when you've got balloons in the air and people, running everywhere. I can really say I know how that feels. But, I don't think it's ADHD.
I seriously went from being an outspoken social being that I worked in a dance club, I worked in a strip club bouncing. I was out working my day job as a shipper and receiver, so I was around people all the time, and I loved it. I would go to the clubs at night, and then for some reason, it just stopped, and I wasn't able to do it, and it literally became I wasn't able to do it to the point where I had to get out of the city and get away from that. It was too much. How are you in the city, Adrian?
Oh, look, I'm fine in the city. I get a bit, I'm fine in the city. I'm fine in the country, I guess.
Yeah.
I've always hated the city, so.
I have a hard time going. I mean, I'm from Toronto, born and raised. I am a Toronto boy. I had the luxury of going to Jesse Ketchum Public School, which is right in the middle of Yorkville. So I grew up in Yorkville, basically. And I saw, it's interesting to go back now because I'll stand at Young and Bloor and I'll light up a doobie legally. I do have my pink piece of paper, and I'll just stare and look at what's changed and what's not. The head shops are still there. That I used to go to the head shop that's across the street from Vapor Central when I was like 15. The whole area, Dundas Square, is so different. But Toronto, was a very unique place in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I tell you. Well, not so much the 80s or the 90s. It was kind of dull. But where are you guys from? Where are you originally from, Marcel?
Nova Scotia.
No, from Nova Scotia. And have you lived in this area too, or just only Nova Scotia?
Oh no, I've lived all over the world. I was in the military.
Yeah, I knew that.
So I've lived in BC. I lived in the Middle East. I've lived all over the Maritimes.
And lived
on Ontario.
And once again, we have just proven ADHD is grand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Talk to me if you know why this whole menial task and procrastination thing is a big deal with somebody with ADHD, if you don't mind, Adrian.
Menial task, I guess I don't know. If I were to describe it in myself, it would be, I find it difficult to motivate myself to do things that I don't want to do. And that includes things that I have to do. My mind is elsewhere, and if I say have to go to the shop and get a particular item, but my mind is on something else, I'll go to the shop and I'll get 3 different items, and I'll come home and realize that I didn't get the item that I went for. Because I wasn't interested in it. I still had to do it, you know. It's like going to a class that you're not interested in. You have to be there for attendance, but you're really not there. You're thinking about what you're going to do after, or, you know, what you did yesterday, or something more interesting. And that's just the nature of the beast. Our minds wander. And in fact, one of the scales in this study that is being conducted at the moment at the King's College in London, it's a trial of Sativex for ADHD. One of the scales that they're using is the Mind Excessively Wanders scales to measure one of the ADHD symptoms. So that's a definite symptom that we need to combat. And all the other symptoms tie into that, you know, like if you have hyperactivity, your legs bouncing around, that'll distract you. And, you know, distraction will distract you from wanting to do things that you have to do, or even things that you might want to do. So they all tie together. It's a bit of a tangled web.
It's tangled web. There's
I have ADHD then.
I have a question. How does your mind legitimize you not doing things? Is it just, oh, I don't want to do it, so you don't do it? Or do you say, I don't want to do it because?
It doesn't matter how much you want to do it. It just sort of, it's really difficult to explain, but like we were talking about last week, if it was for someone else, then you'd be there in a flash. No problem. You've got dopamine surge, adrenaline surge, maybe serotonin surge, and you're up, you're doing it, you're helping your friend, you're happy about it.
But I can't do my own dishes.
Or if it's something that you have to do, then the neurotransmitters don't get there. The reward system doesn't fire. There's not enough dopamine, which is our reward system drug, our happy drug, to make that happen. It's difficult chemistry in Australia. ADHD is still theoretical as to how it actually works, so it hasn't actually been proven. But yeah, I hope that helps.
Wait a sec. Okay, ADHD has not actually been proven?
In Australia.
Well, how it works. No, sorry, that was most of my
No, that's why I asked.
How it works has not been proven. I mean, the theory is there because of the way that the medicines work. But there's no actual probe or anything that you could go in and measure it. Now there's some neuroimaging that you can do. I've actually had a QEEG scan done before and after cannabis use, and it shows that different parts of the brain fire. And I think that should actually be a required diagnostic tool for ADHD, because I think it's over-diagnosed. But realistically, there's no CAT scan to show you ADHD in motion.
It's a very, very hard one to even diagnose, because ADHD has traits of pretty much every known mental health issue, right? So, I mean, you've got your depression, you've got your OCD, you've got this, you've got Tourette's,
insomnia.
All of these
MS
things.
is similar to ADHD then, because they have no definitive proof what MS is, what causes it.
Yes.
Because there's 3 different theories.
I'm sure there's more than 3.
That's why they take a clinical approach. They try and see what works.
But they'll still say you have MS, but your treatment is dependent on what your doctor thinks MS is. So it could be, some can think of it as a vascular illness, some can think of it as a fungal illness, and then others, the mainstream, think that it's an autoimmune disorder.
If only there were different treatment options for ADHD. That sounds like in MS it depends on which doctor you go to as to which treatment you'll get. So it sounds like you've got options as to how you want to be treated.
I'm option 4, and that's cannabis.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be dead. I'm not. I'll stick with mine.
Actually, well, this could be a voice from the past. Ooh, Marcel, is that you?
Oh, I'm gone now.
On that note, we're going to listen to a song and have another pee break. This is a guy that I heard live. My sister told me about this guy. He was doing a live stream, and I listened to him, and he blew me away. So I emailed him, and I said, Nathan, would you please come and play for us? So one day he's going to come and play for us live while we're doing the show. But for now, I've got Nathan Angelo, Carolina Saves Me, and this is from his video from that. And we'll be back. It's the 420 Radio Show. Come on in the chat room. We're still going here.
This is Bubbles from the trailer park, and they're playing some fucking excellent music on lifestyleradio.ca. I hope I didn't sound too nervous there.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Autumn sun at my back. I rode my horse to Georgia with a dream upon my lap. And I waited for its moment, waited for the day to come to pass. The city lights in my eyes, mystical attractions help ease my troubled mind. And I'm swimming in my senses, drowning out the noise inside.
now, and we are back. Now, I'm going to stop everything right here, and I just want to say, Lisa, what you just said in the chat room, Marcel is going to read for our listener, or as best as he can. But I want to tell you, what you just said touched my heart, and that's the only reason that we're doing this, is for that response. Okay? Marcel, can you read what she said, please?
I can't read the whole thing, but I'll paraphrase. She's a parent of somebody with obviously ADHD.
Yes.
As well as a spouse with ADHD. She's extremely thankful for this show because you guys are opening her eyes to exactly what's going on in her child's mind.
Yeah, it's a really hard one to even diagnose. Most doctors will just say, "Oh, he's got a mood disorder." You know,
yeah.
Or he's bipolar or schizophrenic or whatever. It's.
I mean, they've already been proving it with autistic children.
Sure, and ADHD is on the autism spectrum, so it makes sense that.
Exactly, and I mean they're treating autistic kids with pure oil. All right.
And from what I can tell, it's actually THC oil, which corresponds with what the adult ADHD prescription is as well.
Now, can I just jump in here? Does cannabis act the same way as a stimulant as Ritalin would, as far as the reversal thing with ADHD?
Sure, it actually works in exactly the same way. In a way, it's nature's Ritalin.
So a sativa,
THC. Sorry, go on.
A sativa will work different for me than it would work for somebody without ADHD, or vice versa with a.
Absolutely, that panic attack level that you were talking about before is much lower for someone without ADHD.
Okay.
It obviously depends where on the ADHD spectrum you are. Someone with ADHD inattentive like me, I can handle a high THC sativa quite easily, but possibly someone who's more on the hyperactive end couldn't. I'm not sure how that works exactly.
I get confused over both. I mean, one minute I'm thinking that I really like a sativa, and the next minute I think no, it's an indica. So I mean, I've been talking about this every week for 8 fucking years, pretty much, and even I get confused. You know, so you can't. I can't even imagine how somebody with a child who is being told, your kid is so wild that we don't even want him in our school. I mean, I got shucked around to different schools because nobody wanted me. I was in special ed right up through till high school. Okay? Nobody wanted me around because I was that kid going, oh, butterfly. Oh, hey, hey, buddy. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, you were doing a history lesson, weren't you? It's.
I was the one staring out the window.
Well, I did that too, but I'm the fiddler. I got the leg thing. I got my hands going. My mouth is always going. Blah 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 blah.
I was the one reading 3 chapters ahead.
Yeah, I was the one answering the questions 3 chapters ahead. Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I wasn't reading the book though. I was figuring it out on my own. Do you know what I mean?
I never read the books.
I'm also dyslexic.
I kind of read the books.
I'm also dyslexic.
I learned to develop a photographic memory so that once it was there, it was there.
I don't read very often, which is surprising because I sit here most of the day reading news. But
you read all the time?
Yes, I do it all the time now. But I have full-blown dyslexia, and to see my handwriting, it's like a 3-year-old child. Okay? I don't handwrite very well. I can barely write a check. It's that whole numbers to letters thing, having to write out the number, and then write out the letter. You know what I mean?
I just do everything in block letters. Everything.
Yeah, I can't do that because sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big. I miss the B's with the D's, and it's.
We're back into the whole ADHD thing again, aren't we?
Yes. Isn't that what we were supposed to be talking about?
No, I want to ask Adrian a question about strains for ADHD.
So go ahead.
What strains are you finding best for ADHD?
As you were saying before, strains are different everywhere. Even the same supposed strain grown by different growers could be completely different. So it's really about finding what works for you and trying to control that and maintain that. But what works for me is a high THC sativa. I think that the terpenes are also very important. I tend to go for the piney smelling sativas or woody smelling, which the pinene actually attenuates the memory loss effect of THC so that you can remember what you're focusing on, which is very helpful. And the woody and minty scents also seem to have a focusing effect and tame the THC a little bit. I guess if I want a mood lift, then I'll use one which is more lemony. My favourite is probably something like Jack Herer, which incidentally you mentioned before, THCV. It actually has a high level of THCV, so I'm interested in trying other strains with that. THCV may help to control hyperactivity, so it's probably a good cannabinoid to look for in ADHD meds as well as the THC. The other cannabinoids you might want to look for are CBD for hyperactivity if you're on that end of the ADHD spectrum. Maybe like hybrid, maybe indica dominant for hyperactivity. I'm not sure, or at least a CBD hemp oil or something like that. And the other cannabinoid that I would look out for is CBG. It actually works in the same way as THC through retrograde inhibition, but is actually a lot more powerful. And that's another one that is in some strains of cannabis, but it's also found in hemp. So it's one that, with a little bit of further exploration, could in fact be a legal option for treating ADHD, while THC still remains illegal in a lot of places in the world. On that note, I go for the sativas, and I think a lot of people with adult ADHD find that those help. And as they move towards the hyperactive end of the spectrum, which is obviously what a lot of kids are, maybe CBD alone would work. And I think that'll sit a lot better with many parents to try CBD alone first. And then, as clinical studies happen, maybe introduce THC for children later on. But CBD oil from hemp is certainly legal in a lot of places of the world already.
What is
does that help?
What is the Sativex? Is that CBD or THC?
Sativex is a 50-50 mix. It's an extract of a ruderalis hemp for the CBD and a sativa for the THC. Obviously, there's some CBD in the sativa and probably a little bit of THC in the hemp as well, but they mix them together. It's a CO2 extract, from what I understand, mixed in alcohol and glycerin with a bit of peppermint oil.
Tastes like shit.
Does it? Yeah, and I've heard it has a bit of a feeling like
it's a burning,
or like an indica. It's not. It's not what I would think would be an ADHD med because of the CBD. I think it'd be like driving around with the handbrake on.
You think? Well, you know what? I'm about to ask my doctor if I can try it, because I last time I was there I brought it up, and he said he wanted to do some research on it. Now my doctor's very thorough. I mean, it took me 5 years of talking to him about doses before he would even sign off on it, right? For that whole MMAR thing. But
try it, and you may find that it works extremely well for you. I don't like the taste of it, and I found it was it was nowhere strong enough for what I need.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, and because of the amount that I would need and because of the alcohol in it, it's not worth it.
You might be drunk, not medicated, right?
But I suggest, if people have medical coverage and they're covered for it, because it's not cheap, it's expensive.
Yeah, it's like $160.
The last time it was prescribed to me, it was covered by my insurance, and it was $160 a bottle. Each bottle has 50 sprays, and they say the average dose is 6 to 8 sprays. My calculations is it's about the equivalent of a tincture with 2 grams of bud. And to me, I can't justify $80 a gram for bud. But as somebody just said in the chat room that it's synthetic, the only reason I tell people if they're covered, go get Sativex and try it, is because It's the only one that's not synthetic.
Yeah, no, I'm on Sesamet.
Is it basically an oil tincture?
Yes, it is. It's an alcohol-based tincture. I'm on Sesamet for when I don't have cannabis, and Sesamet is a synthetic THC because, and I don't believe that they've actually figured out how to make a synthetic CBD yet, have they?
No, they haven't.
Look, you can create CBD. You can create all the cannabinoids in the lab. I'm sure that's not.
They can do it. They just spend a lot of money trying to create THC, thinking it was the medicinal ingredient, only to find out that it just made people hungry and sleepy.
By itself, it can be that psychedelic effect as well, that panicked effect. I tried it once, and I actually had a bit of a panic of it.
Well, I guess we're going to have a little experiment in the very near future because I'm going to see if I can get on it. I'm going to give away the Sesamet because he told me he won't give me everything. And when he said that, Marcel, you'll get a kick out of this. You know what I said? At least I ain't asking you for perks so I can become a junkie. And he just looked at me and smiled and went, true. You know, I will not take perks. I will not load myself up with Ritalin. I'm on Wellbutrin because I have depression issues and I don't have enough cannabis to keep me square. Right?
Well, when you finally get enough cannabis, then you can get off the Wellbutrin.
Oh, and I will.
Which strains do you guys use for ADHD? Can I just ask?
Really, I basically ingest indica-based oil, but I smoke indica-based oil. But when I need to be calmed down, then I go to a sativa or a really strong sativa hybrid.
What if you need to do your banking? Focus at the computer for 5 hours or something like that.
I have no problem focusing on either. No matter what I'm smoking, I can focus on the computer.
I can always focus.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that if something happens, one of the big kickers with MS is stress.
Yeah.
And if you get any stress, then it can fire off or flare up the symptoms that you have of MS. What I do is right away, as soon as I feel that oncoming, as much as I hate the taste of pot, really, I'll roll up a strong sativa and smoke it. And that'll level me out and calm me down enough to hopefully ward off an actual relapse and just let it be a flare.
Yeah. How often do you have flare-ups now?
Not very often.
Yeah.
I don't know. Geez, it's been a few months since I bothered.
You mentioned on the break, Marcel, and not to cut you off because I know that, it's a very important conversation. You mentioned that you had something really important that you wanted to talk to, and we're almost out of time. So I want.
Yeah, we're almost out of time. So, our guest on last week, Bobby Dillman, the one who had just been raided the day before, and the police left him with his plants and his papers, and he came onto our show, and this week he had the police show up again.
Whoops.
And they took his garden, all his plants, his lights. They even emptied his ashtray, if you can imagine.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Just in case there was a roach in there, couldn't let him have that. So they took all of that, and they've arrested both him and his wife. And the reason I can tell you this is because the press announcement has been released, and it's going to be on the 11th, which is Wednesday afternoon, down in Halifax. And I'll thank on air the Halifax Crash Society and pharmacists for letting the press conference happen at their location at pharmacists at 2320 Gottingen Street in Halifax. And that'll be at 1 o'clock Atlantic time. So that's a press conference for what they've done to Bob Dillman, who basically has no money.
Yeah. I mean, he
now has to fight this to keep him and his wife out of jail for growing his medicine.
And he was even saying last week that, I mean, they're having a hard time finding a place to live.
Exactly.
You know, because of all of this.
Because of all of this.
Yes. Yes. And this is ridiculous. So we're going to make sure that we, follow up big time. And as soon as Bobby is able to, without any recourse happening from his court case, we will have him on the show to talk about it for sure.
Definitely.
I don't want him to jeopardize anything. Can you also fill in the people what's going on with out west there? Real quickly.
Out west. Well, I've been following the court updates through the cannabis culture tweets because they've been doing live court updates. Pardon me?
Entertainment.
Pardon?
It's almost been entertainment watching it.
It has been hilarious because this week they've been running through the Crown's witnesses. And the Crown's witnesses are proving to be the best witnesses we could ever have.
Cool.
Because they are just, they're shooting themselves in the foot every time they open their mouth.
Well, from what I have not, I haven't purposely not been looking at it. I haven't been because I've been trying to work on this show actually, and but the comments that I have seen flowing by, some of the things that Health Canada is saying themselves is pretty fucking asinine.
Well, I mean, some of the comments that have been coming out where the health rep from Health Canada states that it's not Health Canada's mandate to make sure a product is healthy or not.
But yet they've how many recalls have they done?
Exactly.
And they're enforcing it.
But it's not their mandate to tell whether a product is actually healthy or not. According to
they did no study on how effective it was.
Yes.
It just adds more confusion to the pile. What about all these sick people like Bobby who are going, I mean, he could effectively end up in jail because of this.
And if he ends up in jail, he dies because his body system can't take pharmaceuticals. They won't let him have cannabis in jail.
Yeah.
Why not? Isn't he prescribed it?
Yes, but see, the prison complex gets probably a little bit of funding from the pharmaceutical companies to make sure that their pharmaceuticals get into those prisons, and that's all over the world.
Sure.
It's this is a conversation that we have day in and day out. I mean, we could sit here all night long and talk about this. But I want to, we're going to wrap up, but I want to give Adrian a little bit of time here to once again give a little push to what he's doing. If you got $5 even, help him out. We need this study done. If I had the money, I would fork it over in a second. This is so important, not just to figure it out for adults so that we can help figure it out for the kids before they need to figure it out for themselves, right?
Absolutely. That's got to be a goal. There are a lot of safety concerns, as we talked about before, about the effect of cannabis on growing brains, and that needs to be tested as well. And that'll probably be done for other disorders than ADHD, the safety testing. But yeah, for sure. Did you want me to talk now, or are you?
No, you go right ahead. Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, cannabis is only legal for ADHD in 5 countries at the moment. Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain and Portugal, plus California in the US, where they have the catch-all, can be prescribed for anything in their laws, and the 5 other US states and Uruguay. So at this point, there are 10 places in the world where my human rights are respected, none of which I have the legal right to live in. Cannabis is not a legal medicine for ADHD in other parts of the world because there's not enough scientific evidence to support it. and that is what my study will provide. The study will be conducted by world-class psychiatry and cannabinoid researcher Professor Dr. Kirsten Müller-Wahl at the University Hospital in Hanover in Germany, with the support of a scientific advisory board that includes some of the most prominent experts in cannabis research. Sorry, tripping over my words. These include the grandfather of medicinal cannabis, Professor Raphael Mechelen from Israel, and Professor Emeritus of Psychiatry Lester Grinspoon at Harvard, Julie Holland, MD, psychiatrist and psychopharmacologist, who's doing the MAPS test for PTSD using cannabis, and Robert Malamud, Professor of Molecular Biology and Biochemistry, who probably needs no introduction either. The first milestone is to conduct a pilot study, as I mentioned earlier, and the first step towards that is writing the pilot study. This will cost $2,500, and so far I've raised $2,192, which is 88% of the goal. At this point, we have about 30 hours remaining, and it would be fantastic if anyone could please chuck in either $5, $10, or $100 if you can afford it. It all helps. But anything you can afford would really help to get us over the line. There's also one Volcano remaining, one Crafty remaining, and two Mighty vaporizers manufactured by Stores & Bickle, available as perks for 25% off their recommended retail prices. The Mighties are $350 and the Volcanoes are $500 and the Crafty are $300. So that's at least $100 off each of them.
And $500
and if
for
anyone wants a great vape and help a really worthy cause at the same time, this is an opportunity to do that. Thanks very much.
$500 for a Volcano is a damn good price.
That's a good deal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm just looking now to tell you the regular price. And
Lori just got one last year. What did she pay for it, Marcel?
$669.
Yep, that's about right.
$669.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And the Mighty is actually usually $469, so $350 is over $100 off, and the Crafty is $3.99 usually. So yeah, they're all quite cheap. If you're interested in a great vape, I've got the Crafty. I've been using it during this radio show, and I find it's a great device. I'm not plugging a particular manufacturer, but they do make good stuff. And Volcano has been a classic for a very long time also. And Health Canada approves it. The only one they approve, apparently. I'm joking. Like, that was significant, but yeah, they're good devices.
I'm too poor to own a Volcano. I'd love to own one, so if Volcano's listening, if you send me one, I'd be forever thankful.
Me too. I have, you know what? We got, through vaporstore.com, I got a Vapor Tower. And I've had it for going on about 6 years now, maybe. And it's dependable. It works. It's the kind that, it's a single hitter. You put in about a looney's worth in a little chamber, and it's forced, you're blowing or sucking in the air, and it's all just a heating coil. It's very simple. I'm not sure how much they go for, but if you go to vaportower.com or vaporstore.com, I'm sure you can find them. I would recommend these ones. I like them, and I am plugging them because they gave me something.
Vapor Tower, yeah, well, for sure.
I smoke joint.
I smoke joints too.
If somebody wants to get papers, I'll plug Zigzag.
Yeah, eh? Well, you know what? Raw, many years ago, actually, we had a case of Raw sent to us. I have lots of gadgets here that I talk about and I use while we're on the show. I got a little gadget here. It's a pipe cleaner from Toolies, and I've had Ubies and God, so many things that we've done. There's reviews around on the website and stuff like that too, on our Facebook for stuff too. So if you
if you got a product, we'll review it.
Oh yeah, if you have
Guys,
a product
I forgot to mention the website address: igg.me/at/cannabis for ADHD.
And what's the Indiegogo?
That's the Indiegogo.
Okay.
Sure.
And what is your website?
Go there, and if you can donate.
Yeah, please.
And the other website is cannabisforadhd.org.
Yeah, and that's the cannabisforadhd.org. That's Adrian's site, and he works on that, and he updates, stuff like that. And if you want to join a Facebook group, he's got one of those, and I have one too. It's called ADHD and Me, so you can slide in there, and I post stuff about ADHD all the time. Ellen, I'm sorry that your audio sucked today, but I'm really happy to have you. Ellen's going to be doing she's going to be our news girl. And she's going to be doing the weekly Stoner News. And
because we're getting classy now.
Yeah, we're getting classy. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a few people out there that listen to the show regular that are going to be offended by the word stoner. But you know what? Once a pothead, always a pothead. And if you don't like it, I'll give you an open mic and you can come and say what you want to say.
I say it all the time. I'm the medical guy over here.
There you go.
I'll stick to the science.
There you go. I mean, and I'm just a guy that has a learning mind that doesn't read so much other than on the computer. So I play and I find stuff and I post it, and hopefully the news helps somebody learn something as well. We're here every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. out in Nova Scotia land. And you can find us at lifestyleradio.net. If you want to hear the podcast again or want to share it, give me an hour. And anything else, guys?
I just want to say thanks very much. It's been a great night.
Oh, it's been a pleasure having you on, Adrian. We're definitely going to have you on again.
Yeah, next week.
It's been a pleasure.
Next week we have who, Marcel?
We have Debbie Stoltz-Giffen, who's actually organizing that. She's a busy lady. She's the one that's organizing the press conference for Bobby. So she's going to be on, and her and I the next day and a few others are going to be speaking at the Brain Health Matters talk in Bedford, Nova Scotia. So we're going to be talking about PTSD next week.
Yeah. Another one of
our cannabis works for that.
Cool.
You know,
good topic.
It's one that's got should have a lot of impact, especially in Canada, especially in the Maritimes where this is being put on because of our incident of having Corporal Francis take his life.
Yes.
Because of being denied the only medicine that was helping them.
And on the 20th, that's on the 13th that Debbie is going to be on. And then on the 20th, we have Shelley M. White. She's written a book, and it's going to be coming out next month or so, I guess. She's going to be chatting with us about cannabis and Lyme disease, using cannabis to treat that. So, I mean, I know a few people who have that. So, I mean, they'll be very interested in that show.
Well, Lyme and MS are very similar. So I've got a lot of people that should be very interested in this Lyme discussion.
Awesome. If you have a subject or a website or a gadget or something that you think our listeners would want to hear about, you can find us on the Twitter at the 420 Radio Show. You can find us on the Facebookie, or you can email me at stacker@lifestyleradio.ca. And if we use your stuff, we will be in contact with you. We're always looking for music too, DJs, stuff like that. I think that's about it. It's been a slice. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Ellen, for bearing with us. We're going to get that problem all fixed up for you next week. We promise.
It was a good night. Thanks.
And Marcel, always a pleasure. Adrian, thank you very much, man. We are going to talk more with Adrian very soon. I want to know what happens with everything. I want to know step by step, Adrian.
Thanks again, mate. I look forward to coming back.
Cool. This has been the 420 Radio Show. I'm going to play a song by The Caravan called What Up, Steve, because I'm Canadian, and you'll get why. We'll be back next week. See ya.
What up, Steve? Thanks for cutting CBC. From all those people making music with our hearts on their sleeves. We squeeze rocks and braid it while we're making them bleed. But then you're dropping the X and you're cutting the feed, man. You're taking what we need while you listen to Creed. And you romance your wife, but she listens to me. Hey, Lorene. Yeah, thanks for raising the taxes. $13 billion from the masses. Pickpocketed tactics. sneaky like a rat is. Contempt in Parliament, you should've got your ass kicked. But your treason gets treated like it's reason, and you could only seize the seat for a season, Stephen. Cops can cross our borders, and you want to privatize healthcare and sort of make sure we export our resources so your little grubby hands can afford some Porsche. Shit, Steve, are you forgetting where you come from, or you don't give a fuck about the people you run from? I see it in your eyes, so smug and blatant, and your auto dial home so the polls are baking. What up, Steve? To individuals with principles that interact with people who take action unconditional at biblical proportions, admissible extortion. Keep it underground with that invisible importance. Retorting with attitude, dismantle your platitude. Reporting with cohorts at each and every latitude. I cut a channel through the views used to hamper you. I'm lighting the short fuse. The smoke blooms overdue.
What up, Steve?
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiva grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Hi, I'm Timmy.
And I'm Mary Jane. He's the newbie.
She's the doobie. And this is the show
where we
tote
cannabis.
Talk.
From both sides.
Is that even possible?
Stay tuned. We'll be back after this toke.